Resurrection and Redemption Session 4复活与救赎第4讲。我们继续第1章 Methodological Considerations 方法论上的考虑。前面讲了凯博与霍兹恒进入方法的不同。那现在呢，就正面的来讲霍兹恒的方法。Biblical revelation has an historical interest. 圣经的启示是关注历史的。Scripture is a record of the history of revelation, which includes its own production. 圣经乃是启示历史的记录，包括圣经自己形成的历史。就是说，圣经的写下来本身也是启示。那这里特别是提防巴特跟富勒神学院这种的圣经观。他说，圣经是启示历史的记录，不过圣经的写成本身就是这个启示历史的一部分。Analysis of this history, analysis welcomed by Kuyper himself, has made increasingly clear that revelation is a differentiated phenomenon coming as acts or words. 分析这一段的历史，这个是凯博所欢迎的，会显明启示是多层面的，包括上帝的作为、上帝话语的很多不同的现象。God reveals himself both in redemption and in revelation. 上帝透过救赎启示他自己，也透过启示来启示他自己。In what he does, as well as in what he says. 上帝透过他的作为来自我启示，上帝透过他的话语来做自我启示的。The organic relationship between these two aspects has also become one and more evident. 我们越来越看见两者之间有机性的关系的。Revelation never stands by itself. 启示从来不是孤立的。But is always concerned either explicitly or implicitly with redemptive accomplishment. 启示一定直接或者间接与救赎的成就有关。God's speech is invariably related to his actions. 上帝的说话一定与他的作为有关。It is not going too far to say that redemption is the raison d'être of Revelation, footnote 14. 若说救赎乃是上帝赐启示的原因或者存在的理由，并不过分。注脚第14，注脚14说 Voss is still among the best discussions of this and related points. Biblical Theology, pages 1415, 24, 124, 34, 324 following. 霍兹恒的讨论仍然是这个跟有关题目的最好的讨论。参考《圣经神学》这本书原著的第14页、15页、24页、124页和324页开始那一段。An unbiblical, quasi-Gnostic notion of revelation inevitably results when it is considered by itself or as providing self-evident general truths. Footnote 15. 我们若认为启示是可以孤立起来对待，或者启示只提供一些自显的、自我显明的真理的话呢，结果必然是一个不符合圣经的半诺斯底主义的启示观。注脚第15，霍兹恒圣经神学原著第24页。Revelation is so interwoven with redemption that unless allowed to consider the latter, it would be suspended in the air. 启示是那么的与救赎一起织成的，所以除非我们愿意考虑救赎，不然的话，启示就悬挂在半空中。Consequently, revelation is either authentication or interpretation of God's redemptive action. 因此，上帝的启示必然是他救赎作为的证实 authentication， 或者是解释 interpretation。 Usually, both description and explanation can be found in a biblical writer or instrument of revelation, although in each instance, one element will be more prominent than the other. 通常，救赎的宣讲和救赎的解释，同一位圣经作者或者同一个启示的器皿，在里面都可以找得到。不过，通常在某一个作者里面呢，宣称和解释有一方面比较的显著。注脚第16 Footnote 16 The basic structure of the New Testament canon reflects this distinction. 新约圣经正典的基本的架构就反映出这个的区别。Gospels attestation, epistles interpretation. 福音书是见证，书信是解释。That this pattern is intentional or constitutive is confirmed by the shape of Marcion's canon. 就算是马吉安的所谓的正典的形状，就证明这个的启示的宣讲、启示的解释，这个架构本身是故意的，而且是构成新约圣经的一个因素。连马吉安的缩短的正典也是如此。Edited Gospel of Luke, the Epistles of Paul with the exception of the Pastorals. 首先有路加福音的一个的缩短的版本，然后呢有保罗书信，除了教牧书信，就是连异端的正典也表明了这种的新约的架构。好，我们跳过这个括弧。As indicated above, the distinction between attestation and interpretation may not be applied in a rigid fashion. 不过呢，上文指出，我们不可以很硬性的规定来区分宣讲或者见证，还有另外一方面是诠释。As if the Gospels contain no interpretation and the epistles no authentication. 好像说福音书里面没有解释，书信里面没有宣讲或者证实。Such a construction would obviously fail to do justice to the teaching of Jesus. 这样子建构呢，就肯定着对耶稣基督的教导有所扭曲咯。Still, the fundamental perspective from which the New Testament is an organic whole, that is canon, is that Jesus, including his teaching, and the apostles, particularly the letters, are related as the great fact to be expounded and the subsequent interpretation of this fact. Voss, Biblical Theology 3:24 to 3:25. 虽然是如此，但是最基本的观点角度是，圣经是一本有机的整体，圣经是正典我们怎么去理解呢？这本正典呢，就是耶稣基督，包括他的教导和使徒和特别他们的书信之间的关系，就是耶稣基督就是那个需要诠释的伟大的事实和后来对这个事实的解释。或者横圣经神学原著324到325页，注脚第16结束，回到正文。In the case of Paul, there is no doubt that the aspect of interpretation is more characteristic. 毫无疑问，在保罗的书信，解释、诠释这个层面是比较典型的。The almost exclusive concern of his writing and preaching is expounding, exegeting the history of redemption as it has reached its climax in the death and resurrection of Christ. 在保罗在他的讲道和书信中的关注，差不多全是去解释救赎历史。救赎历史在基督的死和复活上呢，就已经达到高峰。In Paul's perspective, Christ's place in the history of revelation is conditioned by an exponential of a specific redemptive historical context. 保罗认为，基督在启示历史中的地位是受到某一种的救赎历史处境的影响的。这里呢，我没有翻译，作者用一些数学几何代数一些的字，什么 exponent 等等。This is a decisively important perspective for understanding Paul. 这个是对了解保罗思想是非常重要一个观点的视角。Only as it is appreciated together with its implications, does the real significance of his revelatory functions become apparent. 我们必须要体会这一点， 和它所带来的含义，才能够看清他在启示上所扮演的角色是多么的重要。One of the implications especially concerns us at this point. 在这里，其中一项的含义与我们的讨论特别有关。From the perspective of the history of redemption, believers today are in the same situation as was Paul, footnote 17. 从救赎的历史来看，那今天的信徒，我们和保罗是处于同一个处境的。注脚第17 footnote 17， 或者横圣经神学原著325到326。Still, we know full well that we ourselves live just as much in the New Testament as did Peter, Paul, and John. 我们非常清楚知道，我们和彼得、保罗、约翰一样，都是活在新约岛。或者Gaffin 在注脚17继续说 ，In the same context, Voss makes the perceptive and highly suggestive observation that a seeming disproportion between the chronological extent of the Old Testament and that of the New Testament arises from viewing the new revelation too much by itself and not sufficiently as introductory and basic to the large period following. 在同一段，就是圣经神学第326页，或者横做出一个很有洞见也很有含义的一个观察。他说，旧约的时间上这么长和新约这么短之间不成比例。我们觉得不成比例，是因为我们太过看新的启示，新约的启示，按据他自己来看，我们不足够看新约是一个导论性的、基本性的。新约对后面一大段的历史是基本的，是引进性的 （introductory）。注脚第17，结束。Together with him, they look back upon the climactic events of Christ's death, resurrection, and ascension. 我们和保罗一样，我们都是回顾基督的死、复活和升天， while together with them they wait for his Son from heaven. 1 Thessalonians 1:10. 和保罗一样，我们等待上帝的儿子从天降临。帖前第1章第10节。The one event in that history which is still outstanding. 后者乃是救赎历史剩下还没有成就的一件事。The same tension between already and not yet, which marked Paul's experience, characterizes the life of the believer today. 在与保罗经验里那个已然和未然之间的张力，也是今天基督徒们的经历。Thus, the continuity between Paul and his interpreters is clear. 因此，我们清楚看见保罗和解释保罗的人之间的连续性。Specifically, they are related in terms of a common redemptive historical context. 两者是处于同一个救赎历史的位置的。Specifically, they are related in terms of a common redemptive historical index. 之一的是，他们有同一个救赎历史的指数。这里又是一个像数学或者科学的一个用词。Moreover, in view of the correlation between redemptive act and revelatory word that is Scripture's own focus on history of redemption, the pointedly theological nature of this continuity is also apparent. 不但如此，因着上帝救赎作为和启示话语之间的关系，换言之，因为圣经的焦点是救赎历史，所以我们与保罗在神学上的连续性也是明显的。下面再解释这句话什么意思。This follows on the assumption that theology ought to be based on the text of Scripture. 我们的前提是神学应该建立在圣经的文本上。That as an historical discipline, biblical exegesis is likewise theologically normative. 而圣经解释本身是一门历史的科学，为神学带来准则的 theologically normative. Thus, if Paul's interest is interpreting the history of redemption, 这样说来，保罗的关注假如是要解释救赎历史的话呢， then the interpretation of Paul necessarily has the same interest. 那么解释保罗思想的时候，必须有同样的关注 ，carried out in a common redemptive context， 也是从共有的救赎历史的处境上入手。Theology, whatever may be its scope and final shape, can have no more basic interest than to follow in Paul's footsteps by explaining, interpreting the redemptive historical tension which characterizes the believer's existence, by expounding and elucidating the mystery which has been kept secret for long ages past, but now is manifested, Romans 16:25-26. 神学，不论神学它的范围和最后的形态是什么，必须要效法保罗，抱着一种解释救赎历史的基本的关怀，而救赎历史乃是信徒生命的本质。神学必须解释那历代隐藏不言、现今显明的奥秘。罗马书第16章25-26节。In a word, the concept of theology is redemptive historically conditioned. 总言之，神学这个概念必须受到救赎历史的影响的。The essence of theology is interpretation of the history of redemption. 神学的本质就是解释救赎历史。Consequently, a theological continuity necessarily exists between Paul and his interpreters. 因此，保罗和解释保罗的人之间必须在神学上是连续的。我们和保罗都是在从事神学。Biblical theology is generally viewed as a survey of the progression of the redemptive revelatory activity of God in history, carried out from a later and basically redemptive historically different vantage point. 圣经神学一般的定义乃是回顾上帝在历史上的救赎和启示的作为，从一个后来的角度，与先前不同的角度，也就是说，从一个不同的救赎历史的处境来看。This most properly is a description of Old Testament biblical theology. 这绝对是对旧约圣经神学的正确的定义。To be sure, concern with the progress of revelation is not lacking in New Testament biblical theology. 对于新约圣经神学来说呢，与启示的进展的关注是明显的。But what distinguishes it is the fact that, in the manner noted above, the exegete, despite every cultural and temporal dissimilarity, stands in principle, that is, in terms of his redemption, in the same situation as the writers of the New Testament, and therefore is involved with Paul and the other letter writers in a common interpretative enterprise. 可是新约的圣经神学的特点呢，就是说，如前面说过，今天的解经者虽然与保罗和其他新约作者是处于不同的文化历史的背景，可是在原则上，从救赎历史的角度来看，从救赎历史的原则来看，与保罗和新约作者们乃是处于同一个处境，从事同一项的解释计划的。注脚第18 footnote 18. This difference in program between Old Testament biblical theology and New Testament biblical theology is already intimated by B.B. Warfield, The Person of Christ, Biblical Doctrines, 1929, page 176. 这个的在旧约圣经神学与新约圣经神学两套计划的不同呢，在 B.B. Warfield 华尔菲的他那本的Biblical Doctrines 圣经教义176页那篇 The Person of Christ 基督的位格文章已经老早提过的。In its fundamental teaching, the New Testament lends itself, therefore, more readily to what is called dogmatic than to what is called generic treatment. 新约圣经在它最基本的教导上是非常的适合用来做教义上的处理，或者说主题式的处理的。This observation is especially germane to the writings of Paul. 这个对保罗的写作是特别的恰当的。这里要讲的是， 我们与保罗一样，是在解释新约的事实，新约里上帝的启示，上帝的救赎作为的。This line of thought may be put somewhat differently by observing that Paul's function in the economy of revelation cannot be divorced from his office and function as an apostle. 我们可以从另外一个角度来看，我们可以观察保罗在上帝启示计划中的功能，这个不可以与他作为使徒的职分分开的。就是说，保罗在启示历史里的职分就是使徒。In other words, his activity as an instrument of revelation is qualified ecclesiastically. 换言之，保罗身为上帝的启示的器皿，就同时是一位教会的仆人，他是奠定新约教会根基的使徒。This in turn means that the inspired, infallible revelation given through him is at the same time the authoritative teaching and opinion or dogma of the church, and that one may speak of his theology. 这样说来，上帝借着保罗所赐的、所默示的无误的启示，同时也就是教会的权威性教导和信仰或者是教义了。因此，我们可以称它为保罗的神学。所以保罗这里呢是扮演使徒这个职分，在整个救赎历史、启示历史里面，保罗是新约的启示的器皿，他是使徒，他也是奠定新约圣经根基的那一位，他是一个使徒。好，我们下一讲呢，还是继续讲方法的考虑。